Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your sun in Libra and your moon in Aries. And I went and checked, and sure enough, that's what Cardi B has, because I had looked at her astrology when I first became aware of her. I don't know when that was, maybe a couple of years ago. I kept hearing about her, and I looked her up, and I was just amused by her basic personality, and I wanted to find out more about her. And she has the sun in Libra and the moon in Aries. And they don't know what her time of birth is, so they don't have her natal chart available. But the reason this is a very interesting combination is because Libra and Aries are opposite signs. So if you have your sun in Libra within a certain degree span of the moon in Aries, you're going to have an opposition. And you can go to a free chart calculator site. One of them that I use is astro.com. I should probably talk them into allowing me to have it on my website, and then I can direct people to my website. But yeah, they give you free charts, and you can see if your sun and moon qualify. But even if they don't form an opposition officially, they are going to be in these two different elements that are actually compatible, but they can still challenge one another in certain ways. So Libra is an air sign, and it's also a cardinal sign, as is Aries, and Aries is a fire sign. Air and fire are compatible. They say that air feeds fire, so it can kind of like create that. Like if I have a stick of sage and there's like a draft, I notice that it just starts going off even more. So when your moon is in a fire sign, like Aries, having that sun, I can imagine that really stoking it up. The thing about it is that Libra is a sign that wants balance and that wants harmony. And what makes it kind of tricky is that Aries is ruled by Mars, the god of war. So Aries always likes to mix it up. And this is the person's emotional nature. And it's important to differentiate between the sun and the moon in this regard. The sun is, it's kind of like our noble self, the light that we came to shine upon the world. And that can be in the form of our talents, our basic personality traits, those kinds of things. With Libra being ruled by Venus, there tends to be an elegance, a beauty. It can be like an actual physical beauty, but that's why I say elegance, because the mannerisms may be more refined. I sound like I was from New York for a second. I said refined. They can be very, the person can be very classy. I'd say classy. If you say classy, you probably aren't. And just be somebody who is very popular because they do have a graciousness and gracefulness about themselves. The moon and just a desire to make other people feel at ease and not to rock the boat, not to want to cause conflict, be the peacemaker. And then you have that inner troll that's in Aries that loves to spar. I mean, Aries people even might like boxing. And I was going to say, well, that might be more the sun in Aries, but I could see the moon in Aries too, because the moon is your emotional nature, and having the moon in Aries can be very volatile. So it can make the person like a powder keg. And if your sun is forming an actual opposition with the moon, this can create a situation where you feel that somebody else is doing it to you. There's always a danger when you have these oppositions, like from the sun to the moon, from the moon to Mars, maybe from Mars to Pluto, these kinds of things that can create this sort of drama, or in the worst case scenario with some of these planets that are very heavy like Mars and Pluto, where there can be actual violence, that the person is blaming others for their outburst. But even the moon in Aries can be highly triggerable. This is because Aries is the first sign, and because it's ruled by Mars, there is an immediacy to it. Now, it's not all bad to have the moon in Mars. To have the moon in Aries, because having the moon in a fire sign means that the person has a very colorful personality. The moon can actually give quite a bit of influence of the personality in terms of how the person expresses themselves. The sun can do so in terms of the person's interests and, their goals and things like that. But the moon can be like their reactions to life. Going back to Cardi B, she, to me, I don't care about her rapping one bit, but she is really a personality. She's very colorful. And she's very spontaneous, and that's the best thing. She's very funny. A person with the moon in Aries I could see them being a comic, because they can do things like on the spur of the moment, and that can be like an improv. So, because the moon is your creative nature, and so you can create things on the spot. And there is a creative element when you have the moon and fire like Aries, and having that inner child that is always coming out to play. Now, on the flip side of that, the person with the moon in Aries can seem like they're very childish, because they can have these grand mal hissy fits. Now, does the sun in Libra temper that? Maybe, but there could be a battle going on with the person, because the person wants to be that Libra. You aspire to be your sun sign, but you fall back, like by default, into your moon sign, because that is your reptilian self. That is that part of you that is very deeply, it's like a karmic influence. And it also is connected to your mother. It can indicate the type of mother you have. If you have the moon in Aries, you could have a mother who is volatile. She doesn't have to be a sun in Aries type of person, but whatever she is or was, could have been very hair trigger temper, very aggressive, bossy. That can be what's going on, but also maybe very generous, maybe very warm. That's also what's going to happen with the moon in Aries. The thing that this combination has to do, the Libra person has to become more authentic. The moon is driving that. And once the Libra person starts having the courage to be who they are and not worrying about offending people, the likelihood of them having a moment, if you will, having a situation arise where they lose their temper, are going to start to be less and less, because they're not going to have a buildup. The reason that people explode, and sometimes they hold in their anger and then they explode, is because they feel frustrated. They feel like other people don't understand them, but they've never really shown who they truly are. One of the things that I have observed about Libras in general is that they try so hard to avoid confrontation and all of these things, and they tend to attract drama to them in personal relationships. Libra rules the seventh house of committed partnerships. So it's not uncommon, as far as I'm concerned, to see Libra individuals who are who find themselves in a situation where they are embroiled in a drama-filled relationship. And I'm speaking specifically about romantic partnerships, but it might just be, all relationships, is that there's always this conflict of one kind or another. And I was just thinking about John Lennon, who was a sun in Libra. Now, he didn't have the moon in Aries. He had Aries rising. He had Aquarius as his moon sign. I did a celebrity video on him, and you can check my channel if you're interested in more in-depth information. But the reason I was thinking about him is I was thinking about what I just said about Libra and relationships and drama. And of course, people know that John was with Yoko Ono for many years. And when he first started to be with her, and this was, I think they got married pretty soon after they met. And, he got a divorce from his first wife and all of that. And they were like inseparable. And it was like they became one. And this is part of that Libra mentality, because of being the ruler of the seventh house of relationships, is that it's not uncommon for Libra people, and this could be the moon in Libra too, but I'm addressing this to sun in Libra, to fantasize about a relationship where your partner is like, it's like you're a two-headed monster, but in a good way, where you're doing everything together, and that to you is the ultimate relationship. Maybe you would think of it as your soulmate. And yet, at the end of his life, John Lennon and his wife were not really in that same type of vibe. Now, that's common for a lot of relationships, where there's that infatuation stage where they can't get enough of each other, and then eventually they kind of drift apart, or they're not as hot and heavy anymore. So that's not, so bizarre, but I just think that he wanted a more involved relationship with her, and she was more into other things. Of course, I don't know, reading other people's takes on that isn't really fair to them or to Yoko, because I don't know, but I'm just saying. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that Aries rules the first house of the self. So you have this classic opposition that are ruling houses that are connected to the self and the couple or the other. And so there's a battle within that person, even without the opposition. Or within you, I'm saying the person, but within you, where emotionally you want freedom, but you strive to be in a relationship. Looking at both of those signs and the polarities that they represent, even if they don't actually form an opposition, their signs represent opposing forces. And because of that, you're going to have the two extremes. that the person has to integrate within their nature. They have to find a relationship where they can be an individual and they can have the emotional freedom that they crave. If they do not feel that they can have that, they will, I mean, it's possible that they may be attracted to the wrong people. They can sabotage the relationship. Maybe they go outside of the relationship. I don't know. I don't know how loyal Libras are to their significant other when they're not happy with the relationship. It's a good thing to ponder. But in any case, this can be a great combination for somebody who is in leadership, because when somebody wants to have freedom, they tend to give it to others too. And so a person with the moon in Aries, who is balanced, and that is always important. The person has to be expressing it at the highest level, will allow, if they are like a boss, they will allow their employees to have more freedom in general. And they're not going to necessarily micromanage them. And there's a generosity here as well. Libra and Aries are very free spending. And you could also call it generosity. This combination can really love to have the finer things in life. And there's also like a great romantic nature as well. The moon in Aries can give a lusty nature. There's one time I was doing a video about Libra, and I really pissed off a lot of Libra people, I think, or maybe hurt their feelings, I don't know. And I was saying something to the effect of, when I see Libra women, a lot of times they look beautiful to me, but they don't seem sexy. And what I meant by that is that Taurus is also ruled by Venus, just like Libra, and there's an earthiness with Taurus. So you can see Taurus women and they seem more voluptuous, or they just have that thing. But that isn't necessarily superior to what I'm talking about, because there can be a refinement, and the beauty can be very inspirational. I mean, the person can be gorgeous and elegant and things like that. People think being sexy is the end all be all, and I'm saying no. There's it's kind of like that's what I mean by refinement versus being coarse. There's a coarse nature to Aries. Aries is rough around the edges. But there's also like a spontaneity. So this combination can give a bit of that more lusty quality to the Libra person, who might feel that is beneath them, that is something that they don't want to exhibit. So for instance, if you are a Libra woman, I would say, now you have to look at the rising sign, because that can affect how the person dresses. But just looking at it from the standpoint of the sun in Libra, I would say that a lot of Libra women, in terms of how they want to dress, they might dress girly girl, where they dress very feminine, flowy, wearing dresses, but with a very harmonious kind of a way about them, with color schemes and things like that. Not necessarily trendy, but very elegant and well put together. But not necessarily just revealing all kinds of skin and things like that. That typically is not how a Libra woman wants to be seen as beautiful. But of course, there are always going to be deviations from that. And I think that the moon in Aries could make that person much more sexual in their expression. But again, the rising sign would be very important for that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to say about all of this. I think the bottom line, and there's a lot of intelligence with this combination as well, and that's one of the reasons that picking a partner is so important, because the person may either, like, there could be like a strong emphasis on another person's physical appearance and how they react and relate to that person, but you truly need somebody who you can have conversations with, where there's a meeting of the minds. But this is a great combination for being very entertaining, sociable, maybe popular, creative, that kind of thing. So I hope that you enjoy this. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.